Hi, welcome to BarryTsGarage. Today is a special video. I'm Barry T, and I've got Ed Smith hanging around somewhere here. Behind me, right there, is Ed Smith's last race car. It's probably not been on the track for 5 years, 4 years, something like that, but it's his last one. He's retired, and it's not going to be here forever, and it's often been on the rack. You've seen it probably up on a rack before, but now it's down on the ground, got air in the tires. They're going through it to get everything working again. And this is a perfect opportunity to walk around with Ed and understand how he put this circle track or dirt track car together and be very successful. And maybe some of the tricks, he might share some secrets that since he's retired and no longer racing, that he wouldn't have told anyone before, but he'll fess up today. So welcome along. We're so glad to have you with us on the channel. Here we go. There's a rumor going around that this is the last car that you raced.
This is my last dirt track car, yeah.
Okay. Well, and it's out of service now. You've retired from it, right?
I'm retired, yeah.
When did you have it on the road or racing?
Probably about 4 years ago.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly the date or something like
So right around when COVID started, maybe?
that. Yeah, somewhere on there, yeah.
Okay. So tell me before we get into the details on the car, tell me what kind of race tracks you were on and how did you do with
Dirt
it?
track, 3/8, and sometimes a half-mile track. We raced in Las Vegas, at a half-mile track.
Uh-huh.
And normally 3/8 tracks. And dirt tracks, of course, always dirt track because it's a dirt track car.
Uh-huh.
And this is one of the last one. And we was built by Dirt Works.
Okay.
In Walker, Kansas. And they quit building cars to it shortly after this, I think.
Okay.
A couple of years or maybe later. And we used to buy 2 brand new cars every year. One rolling chassis and one frame. And we sold our old car, the year-old car, and we would build a new one on the new roller chassis. It had some different brackets and stuff on it. Everything orange they made. A lot of national people drove Dirtworks cars. So anyways, that's what's fun. And so we bought a new car every year and raced it. And we put the tin on it for my friends here. And then Dave Wilson, as a retired guy here in town, he's part of our race family, we call.
The race family,
He's
okay.
the one that gathered up all the sponsor money and things that we had, BB Plumbing and some of the Chevelle dealer, Buick dealer sponsoring us every year. And of course, the other people sponsor us. Was welcome sponsor because we didn't have too much trouble getting sponsors. It's like they say that nobody wants to sponsor a cop. They always want to sponsor a winner.
Right. And you won your fare, didn't you?
We won our share, yeah. Some years ago, we had a 52 car, number 52, and we were third in the United States points.
Really?
And in 2002, we had a blue car, and we raced in Boone, Iowa, and won that race. National race would be like us winning the Indianapolis 500. And we'd been there 2 times before that just to check out the track and race it there. And then we won that race. And nobody would ever win the race like we did. We won everything for Wednesday night, and that put us on the front row. And then so we ran. There was a 40-lap race, and there was 33 cars, 3 wide, 11 deep, 40 laps. And with that, we were in the center, in the front row, and we led all the laps except one. Somewhere on the race, somebody got around us and got a hit around them. So we led 39 of the 40 laps.
Wow.
There's no way we would do that ever again. And we got people sent us, gifts and stuff, seats and Edelbrock give us a bunch of stuff and MSD give us a bunch of stuff. The wheel people we got stuff in the mail for the next year for sponsorship.
Wow.
We had a good time then, and that was our biggest race. We went in after that. We went back the next year and finished 4th. And some of those guys went to that track that one guy said he was there, but 12 years and never made the main event. So that's some of our race cars and things, and we know what we were doing. This car here has to have a 377 motor in it. So that's a 400 with 350 crank. Of course, we ran on alcohol. So some time ago, we sold the car. It's going to Minnesota.
There's going to be people watching this right now. Very sad to hear that.
Yeah, probably. So, I'm done racing. I'm getting too old. There's so many adjustments on it. And I get older, I forget a lot of stuff. I'm happy sometimes to bring it back to, well, I could really race this car and be competitive. today. But it is fast. I know it's an extremely fast car. The last time we raced it, we sent it to Yuma. And the Yuma track, I didn't like that so well, but they said if we brought the car down and let us in free and give us lunch. So the driver came back. It was happy, a big old grin on his face. And he said he had every lap of the heat race and every lap of the main. The only mark I got on the car was a little black mark right here on the rear fender.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this little mark right here. That's the only mark on the car because we weren't leading the race.
Yeah, you can't get beat up if you're in the front.
Yeah. So we put up on the hoist and quit racing it. And so it's got every tire as a winner instead of something all balled up and smashed. And these cars are worth a lot of money. And sometimes I always said a sprint car. You know, if maybe it's not your fault at all. A sprint car costs, maybe the motor on that car is 75 or 80,000. That's a sprint car with a different body, different class.
Yep.
But you could have $150,000 a sprint car would be cheap. And then somebody bump you in turn one, and it's worth 5 cents a pound.
Right.
It's all bent.
Yeah.
The whole car's bent.
The whole thing's gone, yeah.
If you can afford that, go ahead and race.
Yeah. Right.
If you can't, you better stay in the bleachers.
Right, right.
It's kind of fun, you know, it's just the way it is. We're going to fix the car up a little bit and get it to run again.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with it. It runs fine, but we're going to tune it up a little bit and change some things and sell it to a guy in Minnesota. Was probably not going to race it in competition. He's just going to race it and have his employees go out the track and take turns driving it around the track, see how fast they can go. We got a fuel cell here that's huge.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Wow, it is
We
big.
run alcohol.
Uh-huh.
Nothing but alcohol. The whole car comes apart with these little flips and snap. And little snaps like this, all the tin, well, actually, almost all of it comes off the car without, there's nothing welded on here, but a few screws, but not many. A little bit, they can take the whole body apart.
Okay, so even just some minutes, you get pieces opened up.
Yeah, you take the side. But sometimes on this car, we never had any extra pieces.
Okay.
Sometimes you have a whole fender. Take it with you, brand new one. And a friend of mine that works for Don Woods, made all this tin.
Okay.
He's retired too. He's my helper. Sometimes he's here, you see the older guy, but he's in the tin works and he's really fantastic at doing this.
Uh-huh.
It's quite an art to make these body tins, shape it and get them all work right. Yeah.
For those who might have seen the video with the Chrysler flathead that had that tube all messed up,
yeah.
he was in that video helping you.
Yes, he was helping. It had some fuel in it, so we took it apart the other day to get the fuel. There's the cap, the lid cap.
Okay.
And then here's the hoses, return hoses and the vent hoses and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And then we just took those apart yesterday.
Uh-huh.
And then here's a flap in here. It's a plastic. It just flaps around.
Uh-huh.
If the fuel slushes, it won't go up and hit this cap, even though this cap's sealed.
Okay.
Got a pretty good seal on it, but not that good. But
So it's just an extra protection to keep the fuel.
So an anti-slush.
Yeah.
Yeah, slush around, yeah.
Okay.
Yesterday they took all the fuel out of it and we'll clean it up and we're going to put some gasoline in there instead of alcohol. We'll change the carburetor on it. And so it's a gasoline carburetor instead of, sometimes people can't buy alcohol.
Okay. So now it's time for you to show us some of the secrets on this thing.
Well, these things, if you look at it here, it's got about 300 adjustments.
Oh, wow.
The pull bars and the traction bars and everything on this thing is adjustable up and down, slides back and forth.
Okay, for example, that shock, it looks like a shock absorber down there. Maybe that's not.
It's a pull bar.
Pull bar, okay, so, and it slides up and down that.
Yeah, it slides up and down that bar.
Uh-huh.
It also slides back and forth here. So we can pull the traction bar, pull the right front wheel or the left front wheel by pulling this bar back and forth.
Really?
But this is just exactly the way we raced it. Again, there's so many adjustments on it.
Okay.
Even this gas tank will slide back and forth.
Are you kidding?
We can make it, just loosen it up and slide over. And that changes the weight from the right rear wheel to the left front.
Interesting.
Alcohol, we like, some people still run gasoline, but alcohol we use about twice as much.
As far as volume of fuel.
Volume.
Yeah.
Because the jets are, instead of 80, they're 120s
Uh-huh.
in the carburetor. But then at the end of the track, the guy, if you run gasoline, he has a half a tank left.
Ah.
So he has a lot of weight and gas, and we're almost empty.
Yeah.
So we lose all that weight for traction at the end of the race.
Right.
So it's a little bit disadvantaged sometimes, but our motors run cooler as far as temperature-wise on alcohol, because the alcohol is cold.
Right. Okay.
So we don't have, we'll run alcohol. And we get them to run with compression and the engines we have. We run a lot more horsepower.
Okay.
Alcohol than we do gasoline.
Yeah. All right. Well, just before we leave this end here.
Even this can here, that's a fill to put the oil in the rear end. So we change gear ratios a lot.
Okay. Yeah. You can see that just goes right down. We change
gear ratios a couple of times in one track. In one race.
In one race?
Yeah, in one race. There's the battery mount right over there.
Yeah, I see that.
The battery's out of there, but there's the cable.
There's
a white weight down there.
Yeah,
I
see that.
Weight?
Yes.
It says our number on 09.
Okay.
That's a lead weight.
Okay.
So we melted lead and put in a Chevy valve cover and made that weight, and then we cut it up and use whatever we want.
Interesting.
But that's the law. You have to paint the weight white and put your number on it. So if it fell off, officials know who's it belonged to.
Oh.
You're in trouble if it fell off. And there's a special approved clamps. You clamp it on there too.
Really?
We have a whole set of those different clamps, and then we'll show you one. It's on a bar. You know, it pinches a small bar or a big bar. And it has to have a 1/2-inch bolt in it. That weight has a 1/2-inch bolt screwed it onto that clamp, not a 3/8 or a 1/4 inch.
Okay.
So it's pretty stationary with the weight.
Yeah.
And this car has 2 weights on it right now.
Okay.
Two different weights on it.
Yeah.
And we put weights all over this car. Up in front, back and forth, and added weight to it.
Okay. So, now tell me, why is there a chain attached?
Chain is so the rear end of the car only tips up so far. Then we'll pick the wheel off the ground.
I see.
Stops it from tipping over. We want it to tip over somewhat so we get the weight on the right rear.
You want the car to tip a certain amount?
We tip the car, yeah. We want it to tip over. You have to. And then once it tips over, then the axle swings sideways in the car, lengthwise. So that this wheel will go forward 4 inches.
You're talking about the driver's side, the left side?
Yeah, left rear will go forward 4 inches if you tip the car up.
Okay.
So that makes it rear wheel steer.
Wow.
So that makes it steer going around the corner. I think some of the late model cars, they probably go more than that now, 5 or 6 inches forward. On some of the late models that have a different body than this, and has a lot bigger motor and stuff. They're really fast.
Yeah.
But this one goes about 4 inches.
Okay.
With that, all that suspension and the adjustment makes it do that.
Yeah.
So it's on a sticky track, and it's wet, and it's got clay on it, or sticky. It'll get so sticky you walk out of your shoes if you're not careful.
Wow.
And the other track may be slick over and be slick.
Slippery.
So be shiny and slick. So you don't get any traction. So
Okay.
it's 2 different tracks. And the track would be wet when you start in the race. And by the time they end up, the people going round and round would dry the track out. Here in Arizona, a little bit of a breeze. A little bit of a breeze will make one end of the track, oval track, moist and the other end dry. All kinds of things that the driver has to pick up. It takes quite a good guy to drive a car like this.
Wow. Now, do they pre-wet the track a little bit?
They absolutely do.
Yeah. And
Sometimes
so then
they dig it up.
Right.
With a tractor. They farm it, they call it farm it, dig it up and pack it. And in Boone, Iowa, they did every 10 laps or every 10 races.
Okay.
They took a bunch of tractors out there and dug it all up with a disc. And they packed it with a bunch. And then they said, go. So we didn't want to race that first, after they farmed it, we didn't want to race the first 2 or 3 races. We want somebody else to do that and pack the track down.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't want to be the last one either, because it would be dry slick.
Okay.
There's all kinds of things, yeah. But you don't have a choice sometimes.
Yes.
You pull pills, because they put all the race numbers in a thing, and you pull a pill out to where you start the race.
I see.
And what race you're in, yeah. And these wings are something. Now this piece of fiberglass, we had to use this piece of fiberglass, the rule, that you had to use this piece. All racers had to use this piece of fiberglass.
Okay. They all had that in common.
Yes. And the wing here, you can change that a little bit, how tall it can be and how far it goes forward.
Okay. I notice there's a curve
in it. A little dip
it.
in here, yeah.
Let's see if I can pick that up.
Yeah.
Yeah. There we
It's got
go.
a little dip in here, and that's official too.
Okay.
Now, we can't run a wing on the back. Someone with a certain motor now can run a 4-inch wing across the back. And we can't do that because our motor. The driver's compartment is just an aluminum seat, fastening a good course seatbelt and stuff is all official, and there has to be things. And then the steering wheel just comes off. Just push this button here, and the steering wheel comes off, and the driver can get in and out. So just leave it off.
Looks like it's adjustable, even the steering angle.
Yeah, back and forth, and the whole car is adjustable.
Huh.
It's got a net here for the driver, and it goes in these pins, so the driver can't fall out if the car tips upside down, and can't get rocks and stuff in it from the other guy going by you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
So.
All right, and it looks like a
couple shift handles, and that's about it.
Yeah. You care about oil pressure, water temperature, and the fuel pressure. That's what you're looking at.
Fuel pressure is a big deal. Yeah. On our cars, and a push button rail down the side here so somebody can't get in it, and they just slide right by instead of hooking you in the car tire. You have to run an American car frame.
Okay.
That goes back here under the doors about a certain distance. This has to be a Chevelle.
This is a Chevelle frame.
This is the Chevelle part.
Okay.
Sometimes people run T-Bird.
Okay.
Thunderbird front suspension. But we like Chevelle. Of course, it's modified a lot.
Sure.
It's got the adjustments here for the spring load. Make this tire higher and lower. Here's our ball joints with all homemade joints and stuff on. These are all welded on here. We cut a space out. This is all legal to do for that spring and shock clearance.
Okay. Well, so you fabricated all these pieces.
Yeah, well, you can buy them.
Or you can buy them. Okay.
Yeah, we didn't fabricate them.
Okay.
Again, the orange parts and stuff, you can buy all this stuff already pre-made. Pinto spindles. That's one. The frame's cut off here with this bar in front, and that's all basically not necessarily spec, but that's the way it is, and that's all legal.
Now tell me about this this area here.
And this area here is the 3 master cylinders. 2 of them are brakes, and it's got a bias valve here that the driver can screw this cable here.
Okay.
In his cockpit up there, you can screw a cable and make his brake pedal.
Ah, that's what this blue knob is here.
Yes.
Okay.
You can make this brake pedal adjust back and forth to what brake goes on. Beside the front wheel and the back wheel. Not both front wheels, but one's the front wheel and one's the back wheel, these master cylinders. Okay. So he can screw this over and put more brake on the rear wheels than on the front wheels. And this other one is just a clutch.
That's your clutch.
Clutch, yeah.
Okay. So while you're talking about the clutch, why don't you explain the clutch and transmission setup on this?
The clutch on this is a regular automatic transmission flywheel with a button on the end of the crankshaft. Okay. So it's just a piece of steel with about this big with splines in it. So it's like an automatic transmission. Okay. We have a bell housing on here. It's a certified bell housing. Then the transmission, you can see part of it there a little bit, is a little short transmission. Looks like a Chevy 3-speed out of a 59 Chevy. No kidding.
Yeah, it sure does.
But it is aluminum transmission. This is a Brent. We always use Brent. There's two brands of transmissions that are certified for this. So then it only has reverse, low, and high. Okay. And there's no clutch. So now they've taken this cluster gear out of this transmission and cut it in half and put a motorcycle clutch with some motorcycle disc inside the transmission and drilled a hole in the shaft that goes out of the back of the transmission. And our clutch goes in that with a line going in and puts oil in that shaft with O-rings and applies that motorcycle clutch. So right now, if you put it in gear, the car wouldn't go anywhere. And when you push the clutch pedal down, it applies that motorcycle clutch inside the transmission. Okay. The car will move forward. But you have to hold the clutch pedal down.
So the car only moves when the clutch is in instead of out.
Right. When you got the pedal to the floor, that's when the car will move. Once you get going in low gear or second gear, whatever you call it, there's no first gear. It's just second and reverse and high. Okay. So then you get going in second gear, then you let the clutch up, take the foot through it, and you grind it into high gear. Okay. It's like a truck. You just it's a dog clutch. It just kind of goes together. So the power goes in goes in the shaft and the front shaft and right out the back. The rest of it stops.
Wow.
The guts inside the transmission don't have to, there's no pressure.
Okay.
The shaft goes in the front and the back. It's almost so positive that on a good track, we can line up on the gas with our motor compression and slide the rear wheels.
Wow.
Yeah, like a truck downshift.
Yeah.
And so off the corner, it's direct power. Whatever the motor puts out goes right to the rear wheels. There's no loss in the transmission at all.
Wow.
With the flywheel, the light flywheel.
Yep.
Light,
Yep.
so there's no bend there.
What kind of engine is?
This is a 377. That's a 400 motor with a 350 crank.
Okay.
It's a real high block, high speed here.
Oh, that's a
Yeah.
high rise.
High rise, yeah.
Yeah. And
then on our cars, we ran this water hose from the water pump. We talked about this before.
yeah.
This water pump over here has a fitting in it.
Uh-huh.
And then these hoses here put water in the back of the motor.
Right. Okay.
So that we put water in the motor twice. Once in front and once in the back. So we can control our temperature whatever we want.
Yeah.
An ideal temperature, the motor put out horsepower, is real close to 200 degrees.
Okay.
They put out maximum horsepower.
So you don't want it cooler than that either.
No, we don't want cooler than that either.
Okay.
So we have this little filter in here, what we're talking about.
Yeah.
This little filter in here. It is a filter too, but it slows the water down. We can take this out in a minute.
Okay.
We have to. Sometimes
But I guess it's protective a little bit.
Yeah, protect. It's got screens and stuff in front of that so the rocks don't go in the radiator.
Uh-huh.
But sometimes we might put cardboard in here and paper and plug it off to get the temperature go higher.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Of course, our radiators, we double clamp everything. All the hoses are double clamp.
Uh-huh.
Our power steering.
Okay, it does have power steering.
Yeah. Yeah. We like the little fiberglass.
Yeah, so that fan is strong.
If we lost one fin,
one blade,
it still won't vibrate.
Uh-huh.
It's not heavy enough to vibrate. The headers are spec headers. You see this pipe here is one size.
Yep.
And this here's another size.
Oh,
here.
they get bigger.
Yes, they get bigger right here than the primary.
And they go to a giant
Right.
collector and out.
And right now, at this particular body, we might cut a little slice in here to get the exhaust out. But this one, we don't have to.
Yeah. Okay.
There's all kinds of things. We've had several of these cars over the years, and this is my favorite, I guess it is. This blue car was a favorite, too.
Yeah.
That's the one Boone.
Uh-huh.
This is still really a fast car.
Wow.
There's all kinds of suspension things we do here. I can't get into that real quick. It'd take forever. Take the springs out of it and put our gauges on it and run the wheel up and down with the spring by hand and tell where the caster and the camber, how much the wheel tips.
Uh-huh.
If we run it up and down, the car would go up and down, how much it tips,
Uh-huh.
how much it runs in and out. So,
wow.
this in here, I think we have a spacer underneath this tie rod. Right here, there's a spacer underneath this one. Maybe right there.
Uh-huh.
Right here on the spacer. And maybe over here it's got a longer spacer. And this one here, not this.
Yeah.
Yeah, this here's a longer spacer right here.
It is longer. Yeah.
And that's when you go into corners whether you have toe in or toe out.
Uh-huh.
How much toe in your tires are when you go into a corner when the car is tipped up.
Uh-huh.
All kinds of things. I could be here for a week.
I noticed that the headers are shooting a different direction on this side.
Yeah, that's the driver's side. We get away with the driver's compartment.
Yep.
And this driver's side is sealed off. He's in a box.
Oh, so he doesn't get any fumes.
Box.
Okay.
So he's away from the transmission, drive line, and the exhaust and everything is not anywhere near him.
Right.
It goes right back to the car. Out to
Yeah,
the
she's
back.
at the back.
Yeah, set out the side, yeah.
You got some battery connections here.
Yeah, this is off and on. The driver can do this, shut the battery off.
Uh-huh.
This one, the rolls through. If the car's upside down, you need to shut the battery off.
Yep.
So don't spark someplace else.
Right.
And this is a wheel plug. Got buttons on there. Here's a, these are a bead locks, so it pinches the tire in this bead, and not the rim. So you take these screws on, the wheel falls right off. It's got these tabs on it here. And there's that little lock, a little cap on here, that holds the rear axle in.
Okay.
Even though it's a little piece of real thin tin.
Uh-huh.
We can take that cover off and put a bolt in and pull the axle right out.
No kidding.
And this plug goes over here, so we don't get mud in that wheel.
Okay.
You get mud in that big chunk of mud, it's so out of balance.
Yeah.
Then the car would just shake like that. Of course it would.
Well, this is a good angle to see some of these rear adjustments back here Yes, there's so many. You can see even down here,
Everything.
everything that you can think of can be adjusted.
Well, it's all dirt, but see the slicker are tacky. It's called forward bite.
Okay,
And
interesting.
forward bite, that means you come off the corner, and as you straighten up and get off, you fall back down again, how much forward bite you got.
Okay.
Maybe like a drag racing. If you got enough forward bite in the concrete, you know, big slick tires, and pick the front wheels off the ground.
Right.
Now, some of these cars, I've seen them racing, and it does pick the left front wheel off the ground.
Really?
We don't like that, because you can't steer a car with one wheel. I seen one time, a guy was picking the left front wheel up. I think it was some track someplace. He carried the front wheel about a foot off the track, all the way around the track. All the way around. He ran dead last. He was dead last.
Yeah.
That's how mad his suspension was not in good order. You know?
Right.
You see these fasteners here. Again, these button fasteners working. We'll talk about them. We missed those, I think.
Yeah.
Everything comes apart.
The whole thing just, so you have access to modified
Yeah.
repair or whatever really
Yeah.
easily.
There's some of the sponsors a little bit here. And if they don't pay us, we're not going to put it on here.
Okay.
Our tires we used to have on the bottom of the sail panel,
Uh-huh.
it's painted black primer.
Okay.
So if we had STP on there or something, if they didn't pay us or something, we took the STP off.
Uh-huh.
Then on that black panel, we didn't ruin the rest of it. By taking it off and on, we could change that black panel, paint over it, and chip it different things. But
Right.
they're usually all well and they're always happy to sponsor us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had, sometimes the races, not to say much, and even in racing, I remember one year, before the race started, the season, like the first race might be at a certain date, and then they'll race every Friday night, maybe 3 or 4 times a month, maybe so many months, and at the end of the season, and you end up getting a champion. Yeah, it has one more races in your town, or your particular race, and so that would be this Canyon Raceway season champion. So before that race season started, I think from our sponsors, and that we have a checking account for this car. It buys all the tires and wheels, anything we need.
Okay.
Kept it from, so it wasn't either any of us spend any money out of our pocket.
Yeah, it was all came through the sponsor account.
Yes, that's fine. And we had $20,000 in that account before the race started. We could buy tires or wheels or whatever we want, and the sponsors give us tires and wheels
Uh-huh.
if they like it.
Well, that might explain why you have 8 or 10 third members in the trailer.
Yeah, well, we would probably buy those. Yeah, we had enough money to buy those.
Yeah.
And I sped up I did all the rear end work, and we basically rarely we ruined a rear end.
Yeah.
The rear end would last several seasons.
Yeah.
And it's still good. And this guy here, you got a lot of time and drove it, and he still races here in town.
Jay
Really good
Foster.
driver, Jay Foster.
Really? Okay.
And this is Don Woods, the old man that helps me, and
Yep.
he built the body. That's his lovely day.
And 5-star engines, they probably built the engine.
They probably did, yeah.
So,
Probably a 5-star, yeah.
so tell us a little bit more about the 377. What do you do building an engine for this car?
Well, the 377 again is a 400 block, and then it's a 350 crank with a double set of main bearings. We have some good connecting rods, good pistons, and I don't know anything much more about it.
But you like to rev those things, right?
They'll run $8,000,
Okay, all day long?
8,500. Well, down the mid stretch, not in the corner, but
Right.
all day long.
Yeah, so jumping up to 8.5.
Yeah, and back again, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And we like to stay on the top of the track. You know, my drivers, I don't want them down the bottom of the track where all the wrecks are. I said, we just soon go to the top of the track, stay up there with clear, at least the middle of the track, and then you had someplace to go if they wreck. The guy on the bottom, usually if somebody puts the brakes on, about 4 or 5 cars pile up down on the bottom. Unless you're out ahead of the race.
Right.
If you're leading the race, don't worry about that. You can go to the bottom.
Yeah,
That's the shortest way around the track.
sure. Yeah, you put some extra miles on when you're up top.
Yes. And if some of the people calculate, they go, I'm going to get in trouble with this, that if you go around the bottom of the track, you shorten the track. And you shorten the track, supposedly, the distance between the front wheels. So if you measure the front wheels, and don't contradict me. You measure the front wheels, if it's 7 feet across the front wheels, you shorten the track by 7 feet every lap.
Yeah.
And we like to. some of our drivers, we set the motor up to go on the top of the track and hold it wide open all the way around the track.
Okay.
Never leave up.
Wow.
If you do that, you'll probably win the race.
No kidding.
Yeah. It's fast and smoother up there,
Yeah.
up against this cushion, they call it.
Now, but how fast on that little dirt track, how fast do you think they're going in speed?
Over 100.
Over 100.
Yeah, yeah.
You got some good memories with it.
I did, yeah. We weren't afraid to send the car with the driver. We had a driver and his wife, and he had a friend that went with him and helped him, knew all about the car. They both did.
Uh-huh.
And we would send them. We had, of course, an enclosed trailer and nice equipment. And you see some of the equipment there. Send them to California and come back with 2 main event wins.
Wow.
We weren't afraid to do that. We weren't afraid to go anywhere and worry about some competition.
Okay. How many races would an engine hold up for?
We would run, depends, because we changed the motor a lot.
Okay.
Sometimes we put a long track, we put a 355 or 383 in it.
Okay.
I did build some 434 small blocks,
Okay.
but they were for a mile track, or a half mile at least.
Uh-huh.
And our driver couldn't control
Wow.
because the 434, about halfway through down the backstretch, the torque range come in and just spin the wheels.
Even at that speed.
He was feathering it in the corners and stuff and feathering all the way on the track. So he could control the rear wheel spin. With that motor, he couldn't control the rear wheel spin. About the time he thought it was ready to pull, it would just spin the wheels.
Now and again, you don't have a lot of electronics helping you. You're running a carburetor.
Yes, the carburetor.
And you're running cables and very mechanical.
All mechanical advantages,
Yeah.
like the brake system and the suspension is it's just the way we put it.
Right.
Yeah.
So because of that, you can have too much power because you don't have a computer helping.
That's right. Yeah. It's against the law to have a computer.
Uh-huh.
It's against the rules. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And the driver knew that. And
Yeah.
we always were good friends, and the driver knew what we had, and we knew what the driver had.
Yeah.
So we had a really good relationship with him.
It comes back down to a racing team. It's a real team
It's a team, yeah.
thing.
And with
Purple
that's the
thing.
shift levers.
Why are there 2 of them?
Because one is first and
One's for first and reverse.
reverse, and the other
The
one's just
second and
into high
third.
gear.
Yeah. Okay.
One only goes back. It don't go forward.
I see. Okay.
Little aluminum levers and small, special, just rods. 3/8 rods go to the shifter.
Okay. Try and make sure I cover all the questions.
Yeah.
Because we're going to have questions. Okay. So you want the pad to just partly touch.
Yes.
Huh.
Then that's on the right front. So when you jam the brakes on, the left front grabs more, and you go around the corner. Slide the left front wheel around the corner.
There you go.
Yeah, and the right one will slide with this, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't know I had one ground here.
That's how you can make it proportional.
Yeah. See, there's the other half. This is the pair for the right front.
You can see that you ground all that down.
Yeah, so only as a certain percent of this touches the rotor.
Yeah.
Now, I have to say, we're done racing. Sometimes we would put a block in the brake line. Are you familiar with this?
Yeah, I'm going to video this.
Block.
You
What
put
do
a
you
block
do?
in the brake line?
We put a block in the brake line, plug off the left front. No, the right front.
Uh-huh.
Block it off. Under practicing and maybe qualifying and maybe
Qualifying event?
qualifying events,
Yeah, okay.
we block it off. In the main event, they'll come out and test it with it. If you get close to the top 4, they'll test it with a heat gun. It has to, that rotor better be hot.
Uh-huh. You better be using it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you better be using it. But we'll still use these.
Okay. Because
They'll
they
still be,
don't
they'll still
have an
get hot.
X-ray. They don't have an X-ray machine to know.
Yeah,
that.
to tell if this is on or not, yeah. And these are, so it's still, this the way we've ground it,
Yeah.
still scuffs the whole rotor.
Oh, right. Because you got a movement, right?
Yes. So it will scuff the, if you look at the rotor, it's shining all the way.
Right. Because if you only did it in one spot, it would
Yeah.
groove
It would,
on the
it
rotor.
would show the rotor, it's got, yeah, it's not necessarily against the law. It's not.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not spelled out in the rules.
Yeah, it just says that you can't not use it.
Uh-huh.
So here's some of these parts here that goes on the rear end.
Okay.
And that's that bar goes across the top, how we can adjust it up and down.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And there's so many of these things, all these pull bars and stuff. Again, there's so much to this car that different
Just
things.
all these different adjustable
Yeah,
things.
yeah, so much of this. And here's the rear spring pad.
Okay.
It goes over a shock absorber or something. And, and here's one of those pull bars. The one that rear end pulls.
Uh-huh.
Now we can put a spring on this.
Oh, in addition to the shock.
Yeah, besides the, and this, so cushions it. Depends on the track.
All depends on the track.
Yeah, it depends on the track. Here's another ignition system. Oh my goodness.
You
Gearing
got,
linkages and stuff and
you
pulleys.
got a different intake over
Intake
there.
manifolds. Yeah, look how high the intake is off the carburetors.
Wow, that is high.
So then, now you have to see if this car goes around the corner and it's tipped over like this, and the car going around the corner, you have to have this adapter that
Oh, look at that. It's not level.
puts the carburetor straight.
So you're
You
basically
can't
putting
have
a
the carburetor
wedge.
going around crooked like this, so you put this adapter and put it back straight when you go around the corner crooked.
So you got a wedge under the carburetor.
Yes, to straighten up the carburetor when you're going around the corner.
Wow.
So a while back, many years ago, I told one of the guys, I said, we weren't racing. I said, when you go out the track, then you go look around to see who's smart and who's not smart, and who's up to date. Just walk up the car and look at the air cleaner. See if the air cleaner is tipped. And you come back and tell me how many cars you see with the air cleaner tipped. You come back and he says, one. Really?
That's your competition right there.
Yeah, I said, I know who it is. Because he wins more races. And the other day, last weekend, I think he won his 355 or something like that, huge amount. His 355th main event.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Anthony Madrid.
Who?
Anthony Madrid.
Anthony Madrid.
Yeah, he works in a junkyard downtown, but he's been around forever. His whole family races. His kids race, and everybody else. But he's one of our friends.
Uh-huh.
And we would loan him anything.
Yeah.
But he was the only one that had the air cleaner crooked on his car. That's his court there, yeah. So anyways, we expected that.
Uh-huh. But nobody else.
There's another one right there. There's another.
Oh, this one's on wedge too.
Yeah, it's on a wedge, yeah.
Huh. Look at
And
that.
they keep making rules. Here's the brake hub. Goes on the rear end. And our brake rotors are just a single rotor. A thin rotor.
Huh.
Yeah.
So it seems like with racing, they keep making rules, you keep finding ways around them, and that's the never.
Well, that's the main thing. You got to do that. And here's some of the pull bars that go across the rear end.
Okay, there's a good view
And
of
it's
it.
got a shock in it too.
Huh.
And then you can adjust this back and forth and move the rear end back and forth in the car, sideways. By we just move this nut over and put this in, or slide this thing over to the frame. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Some of these are non-adjustable.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And this bar here, again, goes across the rear end and hooks in this.
Okay, and that's how it works.
That
Okay.
keeps the rear end centered in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and this.
And third members, we have so many gear ratios.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5.14, 583, 633.
514s. There's some more, guys. There's a whole stack of them here.
Wow, so you just have just a huge inventory of them.
Yeah. And wheels, all kinds of wheels. And the different sets on the wheels where they're set back and forth.
Yeah.
There's a stack of oil pans and shock absorbers. That's a few. We got a lot more shock absorbers someplace.
Yeah, you probably have a
These
bin full of
boxes
them.
and
Yeah.
stuff. Here's a bead lock here on the right rear that you bead lock the wheel in here, a tire in here.
Yeah, so it can't
So
slip
we
off
can
the
run
wheel.
low and still not come off the rim.
How low pressure would you run on your tire?
10 on the right rear,
Uh-huh.
8 to 10, something like that.
Huh. Yeah, and just lock that tire
Yeah.
on. Yeah, apparently these bead lockers a lot.
And I have a set of headers here someplace that two pipes go into one.
Well,
I think they're right here.
Oh yeah, there's your collectors.
And they would go across behind the body, behind the motor, and go out the passenger side of the car.
Wow, that's what diameter is that? You think is that about a 3-inch?
It's 3-inch, and this is 5-inch.
Like 5, yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
There was stuff for trailers and wheels, and here's one here that keeps mud for getting in the wheel.
Oh, that's what that's for.
Yeah.
Sure.
So the mud, there's the tabs here too, see these?
Uh-huh.
And you put a disc on here, because if you get mud packed in here, then that wheel will be out of balance.
Right.
Shake like mad, and you'll be all over the track.
Yeah.
So that's the right rear wheel. See there?
Uh-huh.
Bead locks with that plate on it.
So is it the right side, right rear that
Right
would get
rear.
the most mud?
Yeah. And a little sometimes the right front too,
Okay.
but not so much on the right front. But the wheels are offset in the car,
Uh-huh.
made on the wheel, yeah. So it's so many combinations.
Now, is this third member here? Is this part of that truck also?
Yeah.
529, it looks like.
Yeah. I think this may be a different one yet.
Huh. Interesting. Man, that's a lot of fun.
There's
Need a starter?
Yeah, starter, motor, and stuff, yeah. Ball joints. That's our ball joints are made hooked to these these tubes here. And this is actually an A-frame.
Oh,
Instead of an A-frame, we have these tubes that go back and forth. There's even got a bend on that one.
look at that. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure do.
So it's here, yeah.
Huh.
But you have two, so you can set the cast iron camber wherever you want.
Yeah.
And we look at the car there. So much variations.
Yeah. Even different fan pulleys.
Yeah. Axle drill. I think this axle drilled all the way through.
Oh, hollow it
It's
out?
hollow, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're stronger.
Yeah.
If they're hollowed out, they're stronger axle.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, pipe is a lot stronger than a solid bar. There's a solid bar one, see.
Yeah. Right. Huh.
And these axles are thread in here, because the axle just slides in. And our rear end has a cap on the end of the rear end.
Uh-huh.
The cap on the axle. So to take the axle out and change it, take the we just take the little cap off the end, little quarter-inch cap, and put a bolt in here, a bolt, and pull the axle out, and then you change the third member.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so those threads are there just to pull it out.
Pull the axle out, yeah.
Yep.
And sometimes it depends on what rear end we have. We might have things with, we might put a button on the end of this
Huh.
and put a bolt in there.
Yeah.
And then that rear axle will butt up against the pin in the center of the axle. Third member. There's a pin sometimes that holds, this pin that goes through here holds the gears in here,
Uh-huh.
and we'll put the axle in there to butt up against that. So the axles don't slide around from side to side.
Uh-huh.
We'll take up that clearance.
I guess it works like in an engine, a thrust bearing works on a crank.
Yes, exactly right. Main bearing, thrust bearing.
Yeah.
I don't have a rear end torque part here right now that can show you some of that guts.
Uh-huh. Well, this is already a very interesting little tour back
Spindles,
here.
then we had spindles. This is a Pinto spindle,
Uh-huh.
and we could buy these anywhere. But then IMCA come back and says, well, you may have a spindle that's not made right.
Okay.
So now, even though we had new spindles, we have to get a spindle with their IMCA number on it.
Oh, yeah, right?
Yeah, stamped on there. So we can't use these new Pinto spindles.
Oh, no.
You have to go buy theirs. Of course, a little expensive, but they can't race on, and that's why we have this brand new set of spindles. We took them off the car, put the IMCA spindles on.
I see.
So much of that stuff is, it has to be official,
Yeah.
kind of certified that it's safe or something, I guess.
Yeah.
So there's always that stuff.
Well, that fuel tank is pretty huge. That That has to hold quite a few gallons of fuel.
Well, you see the gallons in that one.
Yeah, that's even bigger,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah, let's see.
And Ed, thank you for being patient to answer questions for us on this.
And we've had fun with it, and I'm glad to sell it.
Yeah, it's going to obviously a great family. They're going to enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's good.
And I'm sure he'll enjoy this film kit.
I can't imagine how you wouldn't enjoy it. This looks like a lot of fun.
Enjoy.
Okay, well, enjoy.
Enjoy.
Okay, you got it.
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.